Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Ads and Dunks podcast, exclusively brought to you by the American Aces. We are your hosts, obviously Josh here. We've flipped it over again. Adsy joins me on the line. How are you, mate?
I'm going well, mate. I'm liking this little change up with the introduction. You do one week, I do the other week. I think it's a nice little change up.
It is. It's good. It's nice. It's actually our 8th episode, this one. We're getting along, aren't we? It's going pretty well.
It feels like it's gone quick, exactly like the season. The season's, as I was driving in today, I seen that they were talking about the MVP of the month of April, and I was like, geez, April, we're already 2 months into the season. Far out. It goes so quick.
It does. It does. But do we have plenty to talk about this week? There was a lot of stuff happened throughout, obviously, the footy world, but overseas as well, the NBA playoffs and everything going on over there, and NFL stuff too. So plenty to talk about and looking forward to it.
Yeah, mate. Can't wait. So I know for our fans out there that listened to our potty last week, I actually got the matchup wrong. I thought, I thought it was LeBron versus KD in the next round when it was obviously LeBron versus Steph Curry. But I actually didn't think it was going to be Steph. I thought the Kings were going to win. So for those who are listening as well,
didn't you?
Yep, I lost that bet. So I messaged Ruby today, who I had the bet with, she's probably going to send through a TikTok that I have to complete that only she will see. No one else is going to. Nah, maybe.
Hang on.
Maybe.
So you've got to do it. So you've got to do a TikTok for her that no one else is going to see. So maybe we're going to have to share it with our loyal supporters out there.
Yeah, maybe we'll do that.
Podcast.
I mean, I didn't. There was no ruling in terms of who gets to see it and who doesn't. But being the team person that I am, I'll make sure everyone gets to see it and have a laugh at me because anything involving dancing or anything, I'm going to be terrible.
I would love to see it. Can't wait to see that.
Yeah, we've got a couple funny dance videos out there. So yeah, we'll pass on that. But as we do every week, we obviously start off with the footy and obviously our games respectively. We weren't actually able to watch each other this week, which was unfortunate. I as soon as I finished my game, I always jump straight onto yours and check the result and see how you go. Obviously a really good win. I obviously gave you a bit of a heads up on how they're going to go and how their mids go about it, and that they're better than where they are positioned on the ladder. How did you firstly find the game, and how did you feel out there?
Yeah, I mean, it was a tough first quarter, mate. They came out and just wanted to handball the footy. It was like so fast. I think the highest GPS meters per minute in the first quarter was Huey McCluggage, 152 meters per minute in that first quarter.
Well, that's
those that know GPS, 152 meters per minute is flying, like genuinely flying. So like that was like one of the GPS ratings, but a lot of the averages were really high for that quarter. So they just wanted to take the game on, and I thought, we really reacted well to that and put the pressure on them and force them into that handball chain, and then we were able to turn the ball over and get moving forward and put a score on the scoreboard. But we were really good inside the source or at the source. Our contested ball, like I touched on last week, was a focus for us going into it. I think they got us last year, or they got the boys last year. Obviously, I wasn't there, but at the contested footy stuff. So it was a big focus for us going in to win that centre clearance battle and the clearance battle around the ground as well. So it was nice to be able to get on top in that area. And then obviously, like I said, we went forward and our boys, kicked some goals for us, which was nice, and managed to get the win. But yeah, it was like you touched on last week. They're a team that if you're off that slight little bit, that they will take a mile, and a lot of their midfielders and even their high defenders and stuff, they're pretty creative with the footy and ball in hand, and they will beat plenty of teams this year, that's for sure. But it was nice to get that win and move on to the next one on Carlton on Friday night. But what about yourself, mate? You had the Hawks. I straight away checked my phone and I was like, I wonder how Adsy's going. I saw the scores at half time. It was a bit of a different one. I was a bit surprised, to be honest.
Yeah, we obviously, it's similar to the Freo game in terms of I feel like they're better than where they are positioned on the ladder. I well and truly think that of Hawthorn. Obviously, as we do, we debrief quite a bit over the phone. Within the 24 hours of playing, I was telling you how impressed I was by, just the way that they move the footy, how aggressive they are. They really take you on with their hands, but not just that. They try and use their legs away from congestion, and their midfield impressed me enormously. Will Day, has the length and the size and takes you on, and he has the ability to take you on. He's going to be a really good player for a very long time. John Newcomb is a big bull in there. Connor Nash, who obviously had a matchup with Bonty in Bonty's 200th. James Warple, these guys, have bright futures. I mean, James Warple's the best of Ferris winner anyway, so he's already had a pretty good career so far. But they really took it up to us in that first half. I felt like, not that we took them lightly, but we were just off our game a little bit. I feel like we weren't defending as well as we had been. It wasn't overly high scoring in that first half, but I know in the second half we only kept them to, I think, 30 points or whatever it may have been. So very pleased with that, and we were able to kick away and eventually win by about 30. But I was just extremely impressed. On the flip side, felt like, historically we've been in those positions, and, even when, we were playing together the last couple of years, we've been in those positions where we've allowed teams to have a lead at halftime and then run away with it, ultimately. And the fact that we were able to compose ourselves a bit in that second half and, really, go back to the basics and winning contested ball, even in the clearances. We were getting smashed in clearances, and Hawthorn I think they're the best clearance team in the competition and definitely the best centre bounce clearance team. So, we really have to try and take it up to them in that regard. And, I felt like once we did that, we were able to get on top of the ground. And as you can imagine, when you force, and Hawthorn are an extremely young team, when you force a young team into a bit of pressure, more often than not, you're going to get the ball back in really good positions to be able to score. And I felt like we did that a little bit in that second half as well. But, mate, I was extremely impressed by the way they go about it. There's, they were very unlucky not to have won at least one of their last two games against either Adelaide or the Giants, who we've seen are two really quality teams as well. So, very pleased we were able to get away with the win, but win the way we did in the end. Was very happy with that. So, really looking forward to the contest this week against the Giants. So,
yeah, it's good. It's going to be a big week. Obviously, we've talked about the Giants rivalry over the years, but it's sort of gone away. But I saw something today. Someone actually came out and said, I think it was the coach, Adam Kingsley, came out and said it's going to be a fierce contest, and he's building the boys up to have a massive crack at you this week. So it's going to be good against your old mob.
Yeah, you forget I play there sometimes. Played there, but you're right. From when I first got here, obviously to the footy club, it was built up enormously in that first year, and when I was here, and I'm excited about it because I feel like at both times when we've met the teams, we've gone through different stages of the season. So I feel like now both teams are building a lot of momentum. The Giants are one of the informed teams. They're playing extremely exciting footy. You talk about running in waves and really taking the game on. They do that as well as anybody, and they'll do it until they can get someone out. And they don't shirk contest either. They're extremely tough inside, and they're going to be a real challenge. And in Canberra as well, they play really good in Canberra. So I am looking forward to the game. But I did want to keep touching on your game a little bit because we will preview our games, a bit later on. But a couple of things. First, we'll talk about your game. I know you'll be humble as always, but I know you polled some coaches' votes, which is really good. So well done. But no goals still. Still haven't kicked the goal. Did you have a shot this week?
No. Nah. To be honest, you know what? I feel like the boys, they just see me as the midfielder, and when I'm in the forward line, just don't kick it to me. So I've had a word to a few of them this week. So hopefully we can get on the scoreboard. I've kicked a couple of goals at Marvel Stadium, so hopefully this week I can sneak down there. But yeah, mate, I mean, we've got the players up there to kick the goals, so it's not forced upon me. Which it hasn't really been forced upon me in the past. I've just been down there probably a little bit more than what I have been this year. So yeah, learning the craft still a little bit within the team, and then obviously finding a balance and still building that chemistry. So hopefully, they can find me inside 50 this week, and I can get a goal on the scoreboard. How many have you kicked this year?
I only kicked 3. I haven't kicked this time
3.
Last year. I think might have kicked 6 by this stage last year. That was a big focus for me last year. So it is a focus this year as well. I want to be able to hit the scoreboard. So I need to up my game as well. But every time I watch your game or go and check the stats and the score, I look straight away, see if you kick the goal. You know what? I'll go straight to the goals column, hoping that it loads as a goal. But still not this week. But speaking of goals, probably the reason why you're not kicking goals is because your teammate Will Ashcroft is too busy kicking the Jackie Chan goal of the year. What about that one?
Mate, I was first on the scene there. I was literally right there. And as soon as he did it, I was sort of like, oh, that could be like out on the full. And then I turned around, I saw the goals were there. And mate, it was just the way that the ball span. I was like, or spun, whatever you say. I was like, wow, that's going through. And then all of a sudden just celebrated. And it was an unbelievable thing. Like Dale Morris, I was talking to Dale Morris today, and he was like, that kind of goal's never been kicked before. And yesterday, I think he went to his son's like Oz kick or local footy club or whatever it was. And he said all the young kids were trying to do that kick from the same spot that Ashley did it. Because it's never been done before.
No,
so like,
no.
what do you like? It's something, it's pretty cool.
Well, the only time it's ever been done, well, that I've seen attempted and done was Daniel Wells did it in the goal square. Did you remember seeing that one?
Yeah.
Years ago. It might have been 2004 or 5 where he did it in the goal square. So the degree, and that one goal of the year. So the degree of difficulty, he's done it from the boundary line, the same motion midair. I feel like no matter what, there's not going to be a goal that's kicked better than that. I mean, you have to get the ball from fullback and take 15 bounces a kick goal if you're beating that goal. Like, I don't think it's happening.
I agree. I don't think anyone's going to beat that for goal of the year. What do you get for goal of the year these days? Is it a car?
I think it's a car. Yep. Well, was it? I think Charlie Cameron had another goal of the year nomination in the same game as well.
Nah, last week.
Oh, okay. I just feel like it's just Brisbane players kicking goals of the year nominations every single week.
Yeah, they're having a competition, mate. Quietly. Nah.
well. So maybe that's why you haven't kicked the goal yet. So yeah, you can blame Will Ashcroft's Jackie Chan celebration for that.
Nah, no way. But speaking of goals, what about? Did you see the end to the? Well, you probably didn't because I didn't see it either. But the end to the Swans Giants game.
No, I didn't. No, you know what's funny? I actually, with about 10 minutes ago in the game, in our game, or was it 10? Was it? No. It would have been. It was in our game at some point. It actually popped up on the screen, like on the big screen when I was on the bench with Big Timmy English, and and I was like, oh, look at the score! Giants won by a point. So I knew the Giants had won, but in that manner, no, I didn't. It was unbelievable.
Yeah, I saw. Like I've only seen clips. I didn't really watch that game much, but unbelievable last stoppage of that quarter and to kick a goal the way he did. Can't believe that he was left alone at stoppage. Pretty crazy.
Well, if you watch the play, someone was on him. One of the Sydney boys was on him, and then they got messed up a little bit, and then kind of ball tracked rather than watching Toby. But obviously, if you have your time back, you're probably going to want to guard Toby Green, who I know in that last quarter by re-watching a bit of the highlights, he'd already had a couple goals, and I think building up to that stoppage itself, he was involved in the play, and what a player he is. I openly talk about how he's one of my favourite teammates I've ever played with, and he'd be one of 3 to 4 players in the league that I'd choose to come and play on my footy side because I just love the way that he goes about and how passionate it is. So there's no surprise to me that he does something like that, and that was a clutch goal in the way that he kicked it. He put the ball in his boot as soon as he could, but he knew exactly how he wanted to kick it. I know he loves his soccer and the way he celebrates, and I know that he follows Mbappe, so he probably would have been really pumped about that goal. He would have celebrated the exact same way. So kudos to Toby. We hopefully we can stop him this week from doing things like that.
I was going to say he's one of those players that you probably love to play with, but hate playing against. And you've got him this week, and we had him a couple of weeks ago. So playing against the both of you guys over the first few rounds, I feel like it's going to be a great game in Canberra. So for all the Canberra footy supporters out there, make sure you get down and have a look because it's going to be a very impressive game of football.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think what something else that impressed me with Toby and not just Toby, but players that play similar roles to him had real big games this round. I mean, Toby, he had the ball 20 odd times and kicked 4 goals and had, I think, 12 scoring involvements, which is midfield-like numbers, but able to hit the scoreboard. Jake Stringer also, I know they lost, but wow, what a game he put together. Did you see Jake's game?
Yeah, I did. I watched a bit of that game.
So he's played as a mid and kicked. Did he kick 5 or 4?
I don't know. 4?
He's kicked 4 or 5, mate. He's had 20 contested possessions. I think he had 9 centre bounce clearances and had 4 goals. I mean, it was a round of absolute showcases by some of our best players. We mentioned forwards as well. Tom Hawkins, he's 34 years old, had a PB for goals, kicked 8 on the weekend. And, his last 3 games, I think people were, they were kind of off the back of the way Geelong played in the first 2 rounds. I just love how the experts like to write people and players off, and not saying anyone ripped Tom Hawkins off, but, people were challenging Geelong. Now the last 3 games or 4 games, Geelong have come out and, right up there as the premiership favourites, and Hawkins come out and kick 8.
Win or lose, it's like, if you lose, you're not making finals. If you win, you're going to be, playing finals. I just can't believe that people continue to sort of talk about it like that, to be honest. It's just it's such a long season. Like, anything can happen in the space of what? Geelong have won their last 4, is it?
Mm-hmm.
Is that what they've won?
I think it's 3 or 4.
And now
they're on a run.
Yeah. Like, they're back in contention. So,
well, they're a scary prospect to come against. Yeah, and you look at some of their players that they have. I mean, minus obviously Joel Selwood, who's such a champion for them. They essentially have the same team as last year. And, you don't just forget how to play, or you don't forget how to win. And they've clearly shown it the last 4 weeks, which, as I said, it's a scary proposition for opposition teams coming up against them.
Speaking of goals, did you see Charlie Curnow over in Perth on Saturday night? Did you see that?
Yeah, so I didn't know he'd kicked 9 up until I got home from the game and from our game, and I turned on the last 2 games, and obviously they were one-sided, and I went on to the Carlton game, and I seen they were zooming on Charlie, and I was like, what's going on here? And then went straight to the stats. He'd kicked 9 goals, 3 and had 20 and whatever it was. And it's such a what I think about is, I heard it might have been Ben Dixon maybe this year mentioned 100 goals from a forward. And, I kind of had my doubts just because of the way the game's getting played nowadays. You don't really see, players kick like a real big bag of goals. Now that I've seen Jezza play the way that he's played, and I'm not sure if he's probably not winning the Coleman off the back of Charlie's 9 goals, but it's given me more confidence that there's going to be 100 goals kicked here. Do you reckon?
Yeah, I agree. I feel like there's going to be potentially a couple of blokes that might get up there, especially if the game keeps going the way that it is. Like, it's a very fast game these days, and you can get your key forwards in good positions to kick goals, I feel. Like, and then your smaller guys probably the ones getting at the back a little bit more, but you can get one-on-one contests a lot easier if you're playing them deep. And Curnow did that on Saturday night, and it was. I just like, what I thought about? I thought about when we were playing against North and we were trying to get Brucey his 10th. Yeah. Remember that?
Yeah, yes.
And we were just trying to kick it to him as much as possible, and then he just clunked one, and then we were all like waiting for him to kick it and celebrate. Well,
it's like, it happened at the end of the Carlton game. That's what I mean. I was watching the last 5 minutes, and they were seriously trying to get it to him. Harry Mackay took a mark, I think 40 metres out with a minute to go, and tried to turn around and lace Charlie Curnow out. But I agree with you. I think there's every chance that we could have a couple players kick 100 goals, because this day and age, it's adjusted a little bit with obviously how forwards play and positioning. But you mentioned, we can get forwards in the right spot. You can actually get your deep forward, being the key forward, the deepest quite often and quite close to goal in the way that we match up. I mean, there's obviously a lot more running, but I went back and watched Charlie Curnow's highlights, and a lot of his goals were, inside 50 and being the last guy there was getting the ball. So it's exciting. I remember in 2008, because I was a massive Carlton fan, an enormous Carlton fan, and going into that last game, Buddy Franklin needed, I think, 1 goal maybe, and Fev needed to kick 8, I think it was. And we hadn't seen, 100 goals from 2 players in a long time, and I remember Buddy kicked his with 10 minutes into the first quarter, and Fev hadn't kicked one, I don't think, up until halftime. He might have kicked 1. And then in the third quarter, he just went and kicked like 6 goals. And so then he needed like 2 goals in the last quarter. Hawthorn were winning. That was the year they won the flag. Hawthorn were winning by, I don't know, 70 or 80. And they decide to flood the back line so they don't let Fev kick 100. Do you remember that?
No, I don't remember that.
Mate, so he'd kicked his 99th probably with, would have been, I'm going to say, 10 minutes to go in the game. And legit, Hawthorn were up by, would have been 70 or 60 or 70 points. Game was over. But Hawthorn didn't want him to kick 100, so they flooded the back line and didn't let him kick another goal. Wow. It was wild scenes. Could you imagine if Imagine if it was Jezza and Charlie Curnow playing against each other in the last game and that was the same scenario. It'd be pretty funny.
The whole game's gone back to what it used to be. Like it's starting to trend towards that way. Like we just talked about key forwards, like back to the days where, Tony Lockett would just sit outside the goal square and lead up and kick goals. Like that's potentially what the game's going to go back to if it keeps transforming the way that it is.
Yeah, well, it's an exciting game. I've got an interesting question to ask you in regards to forwards. This is a would you rather. So right now you got to choose. Would you rather a forward line with Jezza Cameron and Toby Green? So they're together.
Yep.
Or Charlie Curnow and Harry Mackay. Who would you rather?
If I was starting a new team up in Tasmania, as they've announced that there's going to be a new team.
Yeah, well, there you go. Let's go that way. New team in Tasmania, and you got to pick two forwards out of those, obviously, pairs. Who would you choose?
I'm probably going to choose the key position players.
Really?
Yep.
Why? Tell me why.
Because, well, like we were just touching on, I feel like the game now is you need key position players to take contested marks and kick goals. Whereas I feel, Jezza and Toby Green, yes, they're freaks, like stars of the game, stars, going to be probably a couple of the greatest players of all time. But they're just that smaller type that I feel like you can get that from smaller players that don't have the name. Do you know what I mean? Like
I know what you mean. I mean, I don't agree with you. I do know what you're saying, but I don't agree with you. I'd be on Jezza and Toby's side.
So you're the more flary, like flashy type of player, whereas I'm the more mainstay. It makes sense. It does make sense, I guess. Which way we've sort of gone there.
Well, I've obviously been teammates of Jezza and Toby, so there's one of the reasons why I'd have them. But secondly, I think they're two of the best match winners in the game, and I'm not discrediting Curnow and Mackay. Obviously, they are in their own right, but I think Jezza and Toby are in the couple handfuls that can win you a game off their own boot. So it's an interesting one. But you mentioned Tassie, the 19th team.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts? Because I played for the first time in Tassie in 2021 in that final series. You've obviously played there a few times and you've seen how passionate the Tassie fans are. What's your thoughts?
No, I love it. I think it's awesome for football, and I know a few Tasmanians, and we got some family friends. My old man actually played down there before he got drafted to Sydney. So it's a huge connection to us. And as I said, know a lot of people there, and the footy connection is massive to the AFL and the pathway. So I feel like it's a great option for the AFL to go down that path, because you got to include, we're trying to build the game, and I feel like Tassie is going to build the game for sure. And it's it's sometimes pretty cold down there, but it's not a bad place. We spent a few days down there when we were locked away in that caravan park. Remember that, in those lodges during COVID, during that year of 2021. But some of the days there were actually really nice, so it was good. It was good.
I remember some of our staff members were doing their training, running around the resort. Remember, they were doing like 10K runs. Bally, our physio, was doing his 10K runs around the resort, which is the same path every time. But no, I agree with you. I know, obviously know some Tassie ex-teammates and current. Oh, do I have a teammate from Tassie? No, I don't. But I know one of my good mates, Howie, is obviously from Tassie, and there'd be a really good representation of Tassie players. There you go. Gardy's a Tassie boy who's a gun himself. So I agree with you. I feel like it'd be really cool for the AFL. I think if we were to bring in a Tassie side, we're going to have to bring another team in, because we're going to end up having to have a two buys throughout the year, which I don't think we want. If you were going to do a 20th team, where would you base it? I know this is it's a tough question because I've just sprung it on you, but where would you have it?
Well, thinking of it a little bit, just quickly, I feel like maybe Darwin or somewhere up north in WA, potentially.
See, you and I are agreeing on this one, because I agree with you. I feel like it'd be, I feel like it'd be pretty cool. I feel like it'd be pretty cool playing in Darwin. I mean, it obviously stepping stones. You want to, if a Tassie side does come in, then obviously kudos to that. But yeah, I think somewhere north, like you said. But the only thing with me is if you do like a WA and SA, Queensland, New South Wales, there's two teams in each state. So then it doesn't become, how you build up the rivalry rounds, and, it ends up being three teams. So
3 teams where? In
No, I'm
Territory?
saying if you were to bring a 20th team in, say you mentioned WA, then it'll be 3 teams in WA. Do you know what I mean? So that's probably why the logical one for a 20th team would probably be, as you said, in Darwin or NT or in that area, or another team in Victoria. I mean, the Victorians would love that, wouldn't they? Where would you do a team in Victoria? Maybe Dandenong? Yeah, in Dandenong?
Maybe down in Yarra, mate, in the country.
What would you call them? The Yarram what?
The Yarram Demons.
Well, that's exciting. What about before we move on and preview our own games? What about the Maggies and just how 2 weeks in a row, and not just 2 weeks in a row, but obviously last year quite a bit. They've come from what's looked like is going to be a loss to steal it right at the end. Unbelievable.
Yeah, they've done it a number of times. I've got a question around the Magpies though for you, because I feel like this is what I want to get your opinion first. But going into a last quarter against Collingwood, you're up by 4 goals. How do you feel? Like, do you feel the pressure that we all know that they're a good last quarter team, like they're going to come? Do you feel like you're going to go into your shell, and are you just going to go into a defensive mode? Because I feel like Adelaide did that. I feel like they just went away from what they'd been doing in the first 3 quarters, and all of a sudden went to kick down the line, find a mark, build it up, kick down the line to a contest, and then Magpies just went up the other end and scored. Like, how would you? I want to understand, like, is it a thing that's actually happening around the competition with Collingwood?
Yeah, I feel like, and I'll think back to the Essendon game as well. I feel like in that last quarter in particular, well, definitely in the last quarter, I think the pressure that Collingwood brought, the mindset and the ability for Essendon to be able to withstand that pressure in the first 3 quarters, and then ultimately be able to use the ball well after that initial wave of pressure. Because you watch Collingwood when they're at their best, and they do it better than anyone in the comp, and they're the reason why they're the premiership favourites is when they bring that wave of pressure, they're going to nail the tackle, or they're going to somehow turn the ball over, which then gets them the ball back, which then ultimately they score. What Essendon, and from what I've seen of the Adelaide game, because against Adelaide I wasn't able to watch it all, when I was seeing Essendon get on top and Adelaide get on top, and you would know because you obviously have played against the Magpies, and I think the only team to beat them, you would have noticed that once you break that first wave of pressure, or be able to sustain it and keep your mind and keep your head, and really, I guess, invite it but take it on, and then be able to use the ball off the back of that, you kind of take away what they're building, and that's their pressure and their momentum of winning the ball back. So, yeah, it's a hard one, because as soon as, again, you watch the Essendon game, as soon as they kick that goal off the back of the pressure, you could sense that, there's a lift here. They've got them here. So as soon as Essendon got the ball, it was almost like they weren't able to withstand that pressure. So I understand what you're saying, because I got no doubt the mindset of the Bombers boys and the Adelaide boys would have been, we've got to be able to break this pressure, but it's such a hard thing to do in real time. I mean, you're probably a better person to answer that, because from that game you guys played against them, BT was copping that much hate after the game because he kept saying Collingwood are going to come, Collingwood are going to come, because they come all the time. I mean, what was your mindset knowing that Collingwood is still in this game regardless of what the score is?
Yeah, well, I can't remember what we're up by exactly, but I just felt like we know they're a strong finishing team, but we are not going to go away from what we're doing well. So, yeah, that's what I think the big thing is to take out of it, is you've just got to keep playing your way. Like, yes, they're going to come, but you can't let that get underneath your skin and go into your shell, and then all of a sudden be doing something or playing into their hands. Do you know what I mean? So I feel like it's an important mindset to have when coming up against them, because, geez, they've done it a number of times now and they're just so good at it. So, yeah, there's a little tip for you, mate, when you come up against the Pies.
Yeah, mate. I must admit, I love watching good footy and the way teams go about it. I mentioned Hawthorn. I mean, in the last recent weeks, I've enjoyed watching them play because the way they move the footy and they're aggressive. It's the same as Collingwood. I mean, as you said, you just know they're never out of the contest, but the way they play is just an exciting brand to watch. And, when they bring the pressure and win the ball back, and you see guys like McCreery tackle, he clearly looks like he's in the role just to tackle blokes and win the ball back. I mean, you get such a lift off watching that. So, I can't wait. I can't wait to play him in, I think, another 12 weeks' time because hopefully we can withstand it and come away with the win. But they're firing at the moment. And I think one more thing about the Collingwood game, we mentioned Nick Dacos every week. I think it was the lowest disposal game he's had all year, and I think he had 28 or whatever it was. But I wasn't able to watch the game fully. But I know you watched a bit of it. Do you feel like it's something that teams need to do? Is have someone on him, try and nullify him?
Oh, I don't know if I talked about it last week, but obviously it worked a little bit in this game. With I think Ben Keys went to him a little bit around the source, and when he went inside. So yeah, it's a tough one because I mean the way that he plays and the way they use him, he's actually hard to tag. So like he just runs everywhere. Like he's got a good tank. So he's one of those players that's genuinely hard to tag because you can't just follow him around. You'll pull out holes in your defense. Things will crack open and they'll just cut you up another way. So if you do tag him fully, like full on, I don't think the tag was full on in this game from what I saw. I felt like it was maybe at the source and then away a little bit, but then Keezy tried to get dangerous moving forward. He probably should have kicked a few goals. He was stiff a few times not to get on the end of a few, to be honest. So, yeah, I mean, it probably worked a little bit, got under Dacos' skin. And, yeah, I mean, having that number of disposals is rare for him. So, potentially it's a thing that everyone looks at. But I know that when he played against us, we didn't put too much focus into him individually. It was more a collective thing.
Yeah, I think, I think teams will probably look at more his game compared to the other games where he's had 40 and 2 and 38 and 2 and whatnot, and they'll probably go, oh, yeah, we'll probably try and sit someone. I mean, they play Swans this week, so Callum Mills, I think historically had players, had shutdown roles, so it'd be interesting to see if that happens, but it'll be a good game against the Swans.
That will be good.
Yeah, well, he's one of the premier two-way players in the competition, and it'll be interesting to see if they – do you reckon they'll send him to him?
Oh, well, I was just thinking, it just came to mind was when we played Sydney up in Sydney and they went at JJ really hard off the half-back line. Remember that? And Sydney are renowned for going hard at players. Potentially, they look to do that to Dacos. Imagine that. That'd be pretty. That'd actually be good to watch.
But I feel like Dakes plays better when teams try and, because it's not like in the Essendon game and the other games where he's dominated. That if you watch it, players are still trying to get into him. It's almost like he, kind of absorbs it and just feeds off it. So yeah, it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting. Well, I reckon he does. Yep, because the Essendon game, I definitely seen when he was starting half back, he had guys try and hit him off the ball and whatnot. So, be interesting one.
It's one to watch for sure.
It is one to watch.
Did you watch the last quarter of the Collingwood Adelaide game?
No, I didn't. But I've seen highlights.
Did you see that free kick that wasn't paid to Murphy? What were your thoughts on that one?
Oh,
free kick.
Come on, mate. What do you reckon? I've seen stuff like your throw that was called a throw on the weekend. Called for a free kick.
You know what? I reckon they listened to our podcast, mate. They've stitched me up on the weekend. I had a ground ball and I've literally clenched my fist. If you go on the vision, you'll be able to see it. Hopefully we can get Brado to do it.
Hey, he will. He's a star.
Mate, clenched fist, handball the ball up to Charlie Cameron, throw. Because of you.
No,
because of you, your comments last week, you're saying that you didn't throw the ball.
I feel like there was a couple of stoppages there where I was falling to ground and I handballed, and I legit handballed it. I mean, I never go out there with the intent to throw the footy. So I've handballed it and I thought it was going to be called a throw, but it didn't. So thank God. But when you sent that through, I laughed. I feel like they must have listened. But to answer your question with Nath Murphy, I feel like it was definitely a free kick. Definitely. 100%. 100% a free kick.
I mean, in the heat of the moment, we all understand that the umpiring roles would be very hard to do. Like there's so many things you got to look out for, and hats off to them because majority of the time they do a good job. It's just that one was probably a bit of a mistake, and I think they did own up to it, to be honest. Through the media sources at the AFL. So it's just one that I just wanted to ask you because it was pretty controversial.
No, free kick. But we'll quickly preview our games. So we haven't really spoken too much about it. A little preview of obviously your game. You guys are playing big blockbuster Friday nights, which means against Carlton, which means you'll be in Melbourne, which is exciting because might be able to come see you before I head off to Canberra. How you feeling? How you feeling about the game? Carlton, obviously, off the back of a really good performance against the Eagles, and Charlie Curnow firing, and their mids are really getting on top of the opposition mids. So it's going to be a good battle.
Yeah, it will be. It's going to be a great battle at Marvel on Friday night. I feel like it's going to be a pretty full house, which would be cool. Played down there, like the Doggies game was the last one against you guys that was pretty packed as well. So looking forward to getting down to Melbourne, and hopefully it's not too cold. But they've been in great form. Obviously, the last few weeks, or last week especially against West Coast, they were dominant, and we watched a bit of them today at the club. And it's going to be a tough one for us. We've got to try and stop. Paddy Cripps is their number one inside mid, and he distributes the ball out to other players on the outside. So we're going to have to try and work our way through that a little bit. But then also, as we've talked about earlier in the potty, was their two key pillars up forward in Mackay and Curnow obviously lean on each other a lot. So we're going to have to be good all over the ground and obviously kick a score that's going to be challenging on the scoreboard. So looking forward to the challenge. It's going to be a good test for us because we've strung a few wins together now and starting to get some consistency, and coming up against the Blues in Melbourne at their home deck is going to be a great challenge for us, and really looking forward to it.
Yeah, no, I think it's going to be a good contest. As you said, you haven't played at Marvel since our game, so no doubt you guys will obviously want to get on top of them there. I feel it's going to be a really good crowd for you, so it's exciting. I feel like the midfield battle's one for me that I'm intrigued to see because, as I mentioned, I think even when I think Saints beat Carlton last week, so not this previous week, Carlton's midfield was still really impressive. You mentioned Paddy Cripps, but obviously they've got Adam Chera through there, and obviously Sammy Walsh has come back. So they've got some, and their high half backs get involved as well. So it's going to be a really good contest. One I'm really looking forward to.
Yeah, and what about you, mate? We obviously talked about earlier going down to Canberra or up to Canberra from your area.
Yeah, well, you mentioned cold. I feel like it's going to be colder there. I feel like
let me check.
Around this time of year, it's extremely cold. So it wouldn't surprise me if it's definitely under 10 degrees, probably. Who knows? But no, I am really looking forward to it. I feel like, as I said earlier, both teams are meeting. As I can see you, how cold is it going to be?
It's a low of 0 and a high of 16 on Saturday. So
wow,
I feel like at 7 o'clock. You play at 7 o'clock now?
Yep.
It'll be pretty cold. It'll be
just like a couple of years ago when it snowed. Do you remember when the Giants, I think, might have played Hawthorn maybe and it snowed?
Yep.
Oh well, if it does, how exciting! But no, I am looking forward to it. Nope. But I'm looking forward to it. I feel like it's going to be a good contest. As I said, both teams are, we're both meeting at a point in our season where we've built some momentum. So it's going to be a good contest. It'll be a good battle through the midfield, as we've touched on. But their forwards are going really well. Jesse Hogan's playing some good footy. Harry Himmelberg's kind of floating everywhere, playing some really good footy. So it's going to be a good contest. One, that I feel like if we can play the way we did in that second half, in particular against Hawthorn, really give ourselves a good chance to hopefully win the game. And that'll be 4 really good weeks in a row if we could. I know we obviously lost the Port Adelaide game, but we played some good footy in that. So hopefully we can go down there or up there and take it up to them in what will be a tough contest. But one I'm looking forward to. As you said, we're probably going to build the match up a little bit as well. And you touched on the history that the Giants and the Bulldogs have. So it's one that I am really looking forward to.
I think it's going to be a great contest. I feel like it's going to be one in the midfield, and you boys my tip, I reckon you boys will get it done. So looking forward to it, mate.
Hope so. Is there any other footy or any other matchups, anything you're excited about this week before we move on from our footy talk?
I feel like the Port Adelaide Essendon game over in Adelaide is going to be pretty good this week. And like we talked about, the Collingwood-Sydney game, the MCG on Sunday Arvo, will be a one to watch. I feel like Sydney could go after Nick Dacos, seriously go after him.
Well, as you
get
said,
under
they've
his skin.
historically done it, but I genuinely believe Dakes likes that. I feel like he feeds off it. So it's going to be an interesting game.
We'll
It's
reassess.
a good game. And obviously last year's preliminary finalist, which was one of the great games of the season. So that's probably the game of the round outside of obviously our two games that we take a keen interest in. But yeah, no doubt it'll be a good round of footy. But moving on to what we obviously love and talk about weekly, NBA playoffs. Obviously the Lakers are playing Steph Curry. They're not playing KD or whatever I said last week.
They could. The next round.
Well, they could eventually, but I mean in the second round.
Maybe you would just maybe you're seeing the future a little bit.
Maybe, but no, I'm usually good with seedings. Obviously, I know second and third plays sixth and seventh. First and fourth plays fifth and eighth. So the winners, anyway. I thought I just got it wrong, but firstly, Steph and the Golden State Warriors, how unbelievable did they play to get back into the series to then beat Sacramento in Sacramento? Did you obviously watch that?
Yeah, I did. I watched a bit of it. I reckon I said to you on this podcast a few weeks ago that Golden State would get it done after being 6-2 down.
Yeah, and I doubted Steph for a second. And I'm sorry. I'm not that Steph will ever listen to the Ads and Dunks podcast, but if he does, I'm sorry, Steph.
He might.
I hope he does. But I doubted him. And the only reason I did is because they had one of the worst records away all season long. And they went 0-2 in the first two games in Sacramento. So my thought was, if they go 0-2 and they got the worst record, how can you see them winning? So, yeah, sorry, Golden State. And now come this series, LeBron v. obviously Curry and Golden State versus the Lakers. I actually genuinely think Golden State are going to win quite comfortably. My prediction is either 4-1, 4-2.
You think Golden State?
I do, yeah. It's a totally different matchup, totally different style. Sacramento, fast tempo. Even right up till the very end, Sacramento were trying to score. They literally play 6 to 8 second offense. They get the ball and try and score straight away. Where the Lakers are a little bit different. They try and hurt defensively, and then obviously go the other end. So, yeah, I personally think Golden State will win. But at the moment, everything I'm saying, the opposite happens. So.
Yeah, I'm going to say the opposite. I'm going to say the opposite. I think Lakers will win easily. I feel like LeBron's going to come out and just like their offense, the way they match up against them. Like who's going to go to LeBron? Who's going to go to AD? Like they're it's a different look.
If we've got another 40 minutes of the podcast, I can tell you. But on my thoughts, but I feel like they match up better against the Lakers. I feel like the small ball lineup that Golden State bring is going to worry the Lakers big time. And it'd be fair to say that the Sacramento series, they tried to go big with Alex Len, Domantas Sabonis, and it didn't work. So if the Lakers try and go big, I don't know, it might work, might not work, but history shows that, especially this, the way Golden State have played this in the last couple of years, big lineups don't necessarily work. For the Lakers to win, AD has to play out of his skin the way he has been playing. He's been playing really well on both ends of the floor.
I agree, and I think he's going to do that. I feel like the Lakers are going to beat Golden State. Just I don't know. I've just got this weird feeling. I feel like LeBron's back and, playing playoffs, and he's going to – and then, I don't know how far they go, but I just feel like he's going to get the job done over Steph and send him on his way.
Well, it's funny we mentioned LeBron because I know a few weeks ago, a while ago, when this regular season one was saying how the only how that they'll win with AD, obviously, but is if he, buys into the defense and plays the way we know he can. And you watch the last couple of games of that series, well, the games that they won, he was unbelievable on both ends of the floor, which just shows it's a mindset thing. When he wants to do it,
he can do it.
Yeah, he can do it. It's almost like the Jimmy Butler factor.
Yeah,
Jimmy Butler, or the great man Tommy Sheridan, who is our producer on this, has called him Himmy Butler, which I love. Jimmy or Himmy Butler. He played some good basketball. It's funny because remember last week I mentioned to you, the NBA did that anonymous poll on the most overrated players, and they had Trae Young number 1. I think they had Julius Randle 2, and Jimmy Butler number 3, and then he comes out and. I mean, a question for you. Because he's obviously a postseason player more so than a regular season player, and he always has been. He's always been better in the postseason. Your own personal career, would you rather, be the superstar or one of the superstars in the regular season and be okay in the playoffs, not really, recognized or not really win, or the flip side, get through the regular season, play a role, be okay, but then come playoff time, be the man, be the most valuable player and be the absolute man?
Well, if you can flick the switch like Himmy Butler, then I feel like that you'd probably choose that, because it's like everyone's watching the playoffs. Like the regular season, you might get the keen NBA fans watching it all the time, but I feel like this is the time when all the eyes are on the game, and to be dominating and everyone talking about him, well, I feel like you do it that way. What about you?
Oh, I agree with that. I definitely want Jimmy Butler. I mean, you'd be happy to laugh at the people, because throughout the regular season, it's like times it looks like he doesn't even care, like not even trying, like doesn't really care. But to me, it's almost like he doesn't care about what he's doing individually, like scoring or whatever it may be, where come the regular season, he literally does whatever he needs. If he needs to go out and drop 40, he will, which is clearly what he did against the number one seed. And they've obviously won their first game against New York, which is in New York as well. So,
I feel like they're going to get that done.
I hope they do, because I'm a big fan of Jimmy Butler. He's one of my favourite players in the league. I love the way he goes about it. So it's an interesting series, that one. At the end of the game, Ja Morant was seen smiling with AD, and he's obviously just lost a series, the number 2 seed. Do you what do you think of that?
Oh, I feel like you look into it, like we all look into it too much. Like, I don't know. He could have been laughing about Dylan Brooks, like how much of a clown he looked getting into LeBron. They're like, you don't know what he's laughing about. You don't know what he's laughing about. Like, AD could have walked over and been like, how's your man Dylan Brooks? And Ja could have just been like, what a clown.
Well, Dylan Brooks might not even be there. Do you reckon he gets traded? Because there was talks of him getting traded earlier on throughout the year.
I hope so. He doesn't deserve to be playing in such a good team.
Well, if you come out and you challenge, one of the 2 greatest players of all time in LeBron James, you have to be able to back it up. So I feel like he kind of shot himself in the foot.
Big time. He could have just cost himself a career. Like, you just don't know. You don't know.
Well, whatever you do to G up. What about the Nuggets and the Suns series? Obviously, game 2 was today. It surprised me a little bit. I'm a little bit disappointed, because if I had a team that I'm supporting, not that I support the Suns, because I'm actually not a big fan of him. It's just KD's my favourite player, and I want him to win. A little bit surprised. I thought they might have pinched one away from home. I feel like they haven't clicked, or maybe I'm just underestimating how good Denver are playing, and Jamal Murray's back to his bubble play. What's your thoughts on that series?
Yep. Yeah, I mean, I personally thought that the Nuggets were going to get it done easily. Like, after watching that first game, I was just blown away by their play, like their team play. They've just spread all over the court. They've got good bench players. They've got obviously not the big names that the Phoenix Suns have, but I just feel like, they all complement each other, and they're just that first game was pretty impressive. And then to watch the second game was, obviously a bit more of a defensive game, but I feel like the Suns are up against the wall here.
Yeah, no, I agree there. I feel like you're spot on with what you're saying in terms of team play. It's clear, like from these first 2 games, is that the Suns are a team that's kind of been put together. Not that Chris Paul, Booker, and Ayton have played together, obviously historically, and they've played in the final series. But with KD, you don't just add a superstar in and expect him to be, like a role player or whatever it may be, and a couple others. Where Denver's core have been there for, I think, a lot longer than what Phoenix has. So, yeah, you're spot on. I mean, I am a little bit worried. I hope the Phoenix can win the next couple of games and make an interesting series, but it's an interesting one.
What about CP3 went down with the groin? Did you see that?
I seen that. You know what? It's disappointing, because you obviously can't help your body, but it's a couple of times now where he's hurt himself, and in like big playoffs, and he's had to miss, and it's hurt the team. Do you remember when he was at Houston and they were playing Golden State in that game 6 which if they won, they obviously win the series. He did his hammy, and then obviously they ended up losing. So it's an interesting one. But the other series, obviously, which is the Philly Boston series, no Joel Embiid today. James Harden, vintage performance, goes off for 45, hit the game winner. Yeah, unbelievable.
Unbelievable. I didn't see much of it because we had training, but yeah, I heard about it the whole time, and mate, vintage, like you said, just incredible. And the step back to finish it off was just sick. It was so cool.
Which he's been doing a little bit more this year. I mean, he was more of a facilitator because we've seen him be the league leading scorer on multiple occasions. So it's good to see, but makes me wonder. I've got a question for you, which would be the last NBA question, unless you've got one. But the MVP, I think, gets announced tomorrow. So the second, I think it gets announced over in the States, where obviously we're the third. Joel Embiid didn't play today, but James Harden goes and obviously they win the series, win the game, beat Boston, who are probably one of the influential teams in comp, versus Nikola Jokic. You take him out of Denver Nuggets, they probably don't win. Do you think like there is a prime example of, Nikola Jokic being the MVP, or do you reckon I'm just an idiot and it has nothing to do with it? What do you think? Who do you think the MVP is going to go to?
I think it's clear as day. Like you just said, you just touched on the impact, and if you talk about most valuable player, like I always think about MVP is most valuable player. And it's got to be Nikola Jokic, surely.
See, look, I agree with that. I feel like without discrediting Embiid, he's had an historical season, but I feel like it's going to be voter fatigue. So the same people are going to be sick of voting for Nikola Jokic because he's a two-time MVP. It happened to Kobe Bryant. It happened to Jordan. Not that Kobe only won once, but people didn't want to see him win. It happened to LeBron. I feel like they're going to give it to Joel Embiid and not Nikola Jokic purely for that reason.
Let's hope not, because I feel like Nikola Jokic is the MVP of the league for sure, hands down.
Yeah, well, by this time next week, we'll be able to talk about it. So it's going to be another good week of basketball.
It will be. Well, moving on, mate, we've actually got a huge announcement. We're going to give away some signed boots. So I'll read out a little bit of what we're going to do here. So we're giving away signed boots from both of us. How you win is you've got to head to our YouTube channel and let us know what you love about our podcast by simply commenting on this episode. And we wanted to let everyone know we do read these comments. So make sure you share with us and continue sending us DMs on Instagram, because we get all the feedback and we love it from our loyal supporters. But to help identify what pair of boots you simply want, finish your comment with either a dog emoji or a lion emoji at the end of it. And then obviously the lion means it's my signed boots. If it's a dog, it's Adsy's signed boots. The winner will be announced on next week's podcast. And please note, you can only enter once. So we're going to choose one of those people. Hopefully we get a lot of comments, which would be nice. But we're looking forward to obviously picking out of the hat a couple of these people, because hopefully we can one first, and then we might do it again later in the year. So it's pretty exciting to give away some of our boots, isn't it, mate?
Yeah, well, as you said, it's the first time we've done this on any forms of our podcast, and something that we've wanted to do for quite a bit now. So going forward, it's going to be obviously something that we want to introduce quite a bit into our potties, and I guess reward some of the fans out there that listen to us weekly and don't get sick of hearing our voices. So it is exciting. What boots do you wear, by the way? So the people out there.
I was going to say we wear the same boots, don't we?
We do. And what are they? Because you know everything to detail.
Yeah, so they're Nike Tiempos. Obviously, the new color is, I don't have a pair on me here, but they're like the white with the sort of light kind of grey blue color with a fluoro outline of the tick. They're actually a beautiful boot. Probably one of my personal faves, to be honest. So you'll be giving away the same pair.
I love that one, and I love last year's model. I think it's last year's, the pink ones. I actually really, really like. They're two of my favorite Tiempos. What about? I know I'm putting you on the spot here with Tiempos because I know you've obviously worn them a bit. What is your favorite Nike Tiempo that you've worn throughout your whole career? Because I know which one my favorite is in terms of looks, not how it feels. In terms of looks.
Yeah, so all time would be the all white with the silver tick.
So that's your favourite? See, that was right
That's
up there
my
for
favourite.
mine. My favourite is the all white with the fluoro green tick.
They were real old school.
Yes, they're real. They're from one of my first seasons, I reckon. I wasn't wearing Nike back then. I was wearing Asics, but yeah, they're one of my favourite boots that I love rocking. But it is exciting. Boots that we get to give away.
Yes, for sure. But so what we'll individually be screenshotting our favourite comment. So we've got to do that and we'll post it. We normally do it on Instagram, but we want everyone to go and watch the YouTube channel and comment on there. So looking forward to doing that, and winners will be announced next week on our podcast. So let's get into it, eh?
Beautiful. Can't wait. Is there anything else you'd like to end on before we finish this potty?
No, I don't think so, mate. I think we've got it all sorted. Looking forward to the weekend and a couple of big games coming up for the both of us. So bring it on, eh?
And I'm looking forward to hopefully seeing you on Thursday when you're down here in Melbourne before I go.
True.
But no, thanks everyone for listening to another episode of the Ads and Dunks podcast, brought to you exclusively by the Oz American Aces. If you haven't done this already, please subscribe to all of the Oz American Aces channels. Follow all social media accounts, wherever you can find us on YouTube, whatever it may be. Just go to the Ads and Dunks podcast. Thank you so much, guys, for listening. We know that we just mentioned the boots, but we know we've got some loyal fans who like sending in messages as much as they can and supporting us. It's something that Dunks and I love doing, and we love being ourselves and giving our content out there. So make sure you remember, don't forget to comment on your YouTube, win a signed pair of boots from myself or Dunks. Comment that Bulldogs emoji or the dog emoji, or comment the Lions emoji, depending on which pair of boots you want from which person. But once again, thank you for listening to us, and we'll see you next week. Well done, Joshy.
Thanks, mate.